Welcome back to another episode of Legal Tech Briefs, where we dive into the intersection of law and technology with people that we believe are shaping the future. I'm your host, Zach Posner, and today we have a fantastic guest, our friend Josh Baxter, the CEO of NetDocs. Josh has over 25 years leading global tech companies. He's known for building high-performance teams and peak performance companies. We'll talk a little bit about NetDocs, and you'll understand that in a minute. He was named a 2022 CEO of the Year by Utah Business Magazine, a testament to his leadership and vision. And now, if you're in or around the legal tech space, you've probably heard of NetDocs. It's the #1 cloud-based content management platform. It's trusted by over 4,700 organizations to keep their documents secure, accessible, and organized. To give you a sense of scale, this stat blew me away. We're talking about 17 million documents that are updated to their platform on a weekly basis. So, Josh, thank you so much for being here. And maybe before we dive in, I know that I just gave away a couple bullet points, but would love to, we'd love a little overview from you on NetDocs, its size, its scale, what you're excited about, etc.
Yeah, happy to. So as Zach mentioned, I've been part of NetDocs for quite a while now, about 8 years, and the beautiful thing about this business is that our platform from the beginning was built to be a multi-tenant cloud platform that could reach hundreds of thousands of users and just scale really, really well. The thing that I liked the most about it when I joined, all those years ago, is that it was built in a way that it was intended to store, secure, organize, make searchable and findable all of the content of a legal professional, but it was architected in a way that we could put so many productivity capabilities around it to truly enable a legal professional to do their best work, so that we kind of just natively sit inside of their work experience, so that we're deeply embedded in the Microsoft applications, and we kind of meet them where they're at and make it easier for them to do their work. And along that journey, we've been able to reach not only about 30% of the AmLaw 200, but also we've got more of the middle market law firm space than any other vendor in the space. We've got about 325,000 users that are on the platform on any given day, and we're approaching 6,000 users that are on our cloud platform, or 6,000 customers that are on our cloud platform. And a big part of that has been the way that we have been able to continue to innovate and just be on the forefront of the industry in terms of bringing additional capabilities to the platform, so that it's not just that we're storing and organizing content, but we're able to touch the entire document lifecycle, or the entire work product lifecycle, and enable an attorney or any legal professional to be their best at any given time.
Lots to unpack there. And for those that aren't as familiar, a document is the key to what an attorney does. So this is like, the platform that Josh runs. This is effectively, this is how people perform their work. I mean, this is the key platform. And I guess, Josh, 8 years ago, coming from different verticals, I'm guessing you're like, legal. But then the vision of the founders or whoever this was when you inherited this to be in the cloud was actually a pretty strong one back then. And now you've seen 8 years, and I'm just curious how you think about like some of the technology arcs from when you got here and said, hey, probably we're in the cloud, there's going to be a shift to a cloud. I'm guessing you said there's going to be a migration to cloud, we'll be positioned well, but how is that? Walk us through that thought process and kind of how that's evolved.
Yeah, so there were two things about this business that excited me from the very first day, and they're the two things that I've worked the hardest to protect and make sure that we sustained. Because as you know, as a business grows, it's so easy to lose your identity. We're quite literally 10 times as big as we were when I joined the company in terms of revenue and customers. We're we're 7 times as big in terms of employees, and it can be easy to lose that culture, right? Those two things were innovation and a culture of employees and just people that care about our customers and our customers' success, and truly partner with them in ways that protect our reputation and build upon our reputation as a group of people that when we say we're going to do something, we deliver on it. So that's kind of like the foundation that I want to lay, and particularly I want to dig into the innovation conversation. To your point, what I saw was an industry that was a slow-moving industry and had not moved to the cloud when I joined in 2017. And NetDocuments had a platform that was the cloud platform and was built with the most modern cloud technologies, and was going to be able to take them on a journey. And we've proven that out as more and more of the industry has moved, and there have been some inflection points along the way. COVID accelerated that. There are other technologies that are coming to market that are really only possible if you are in the cloud, and if you've got a platform that is architected to just natively hook up to things like a generative AI large language model. And that track record of innovation, that ability to always be at the forefront of the industry, whether it was being, our military grade security that we put into the platform all the way back in 2015, and we've continued to stay on top of it, or the latest in bringing generative AI to the platform. My view with these capabilities is that a law firm or a big corporate legal department, when they choose NetDocuments, they've invested an incredible amount in vetting our platform and knowing that we meet the compliance standards that they're held to, that we're going to be able to provide the level of security that is mandated by their outside counsel guidelines, by their general counsel, by just a variety of organizations and their clients that dictate how they protect that content. Well, having all of those things in place and having that mindset of we're always going to be the leader and the best of breed allowed us to also have a mindset when generative AI became so important in the legal industry that we could very quickly hook up a large language model. We had a deep partnership with Microsoft. We didn't have to go develop that. We had it already. And we were able to get things like, Microsoft agreed with us on day one to have a 0-minute retention policy. The standard, OpenAI or Azure Cognitive Services retention policy is 30 days. Well, a law firm can't have that, right? They have to know that if a piece of content is being used with generative AI, that content is not going to be fed into the large language model and is not going to be retained by that organization. So having that mindset of always being on the front allowed us to start bringing generative AI capabilities onto our platform very early. We were the very first of the cloud platforms that had a meaningful footprint of customers already to bring AI to our customers. And we should talk more about that, but that's a journey that we're on, where we think that we're going to shape the way that legal professionals work for a very long time, because we're bringing AI to their content.
Yeah.
Versus taking their content out to AI.
Yeah, let's go there. I just have one, and for those, at the end of the day, when you think about generative AI, it's about taking documents, analyzing them, analyzing the words. It's words in, it's words out, and you are the truth source for all of the documents. So there's nobody, you guys are situated to really win this. But before we go there, if we zoom out, I'm just curious about the technology arcs a little bit that you've seen where, maybe you were a little bit, or NetDocs was
early, too early. Maybe too early. Yeah.
No, but as early as you could have been on the cloud, and you were, 8 years ago, you were telling the story when you got here about how that's going to be important. You saw some level of enthusiasm to come over, but I'm sure it was a long process. I'm curious, so you were involved with this cloud migration. migration to the cloud, and now you're seeing this Gen AI, and I'm curious, like, how this arc feels to you.
Yeah.
Does this
Yeah.
feel like it's fat? Like, how would you compare them?
Yeah. Yeah. So what I'd say is that, historically the move to the cloud for the legal industry, it my first 3 years here there was still an if question,
Yeah,
and which was, as somebody that didn't grow up, for lack of a better term, in the legal industry, was a head scratcher for me at the beginning. Um, but eventually we were convincing people, okay, that like cloud is a win
yeah,
decision. And then when COVID came, it clearly became a win decision for everybody, for the biggest law firms in the world. I remember sitting in a session with a group of folks in Chicago where we were with 5 of the 20 biggest law firms in the world, and this is spring of 21, and it was the first time where they looked around and they all had this acknowledgement that yes, we're going to the cloud. And within a year, 3 of them had signed with us, which, when you think about, when you hear, oh, 3 of the top 20 signed kind of thing in 12 months, some people feel like, oh, that was slow, but in the legal industry, like, that's a big deal. Like, it's an incredibly big deal.
this should be a once in a career type of transition for
That's
a lot.
exactly right.
This is a bet your firm. I mean, this is a really big deal. If the operating system of the firm is software, like, you don't just do this lightly.
Yeah, that's exactly the right way to think about it, Zach. And so that cloud move, like, I still view it as a slow burn. Like, like, if you look around the legal industry, we think something like 40 to 50% of all legal professionals, and excluding the 10 user and below firms, because we really only think
Yep.
about 10 and above firms. We think 40 to 50% of those users are still using on-prem technologies to manage their work product, and we think that that's still going to be a slow burn. But
Yep.
the generative AI move is very different from that. I've yet to see a technology adopted and have so much interest in the legal industry at the pace that this is going.
Yeah.
Basically what we're seeing is, like, 80% of our customers, when we've surveyed them, that the answer is we are either actively adopting, we are actively exploring, or we are planning to do something in the next 12 months. And maybe planning to do something in the next 12 months is that we're going to do our homework in these 12 months. But if you look back on legal tech over the last 40 years,
Yeah. Yeah.
it was never like that.
Yeah. Look, I'm convinced it was the best demo that ever existed in any technology, and you saw it, and we all saw the words magically appearing on the screen 2 years ago, and we said, let your imagination wander. Whether the first demo worked or not, I have no idea.
Huh?
But and now I love this Bill Gates quote that said people overestimate what technology and the impact in 2 years, and they underestimate 10.
Exactly.
And I think we're just starting to move into it. So maybe talk to me about how you guys are thinking about AI, like what types of you know, or maybe paint me a longer term vision for NetDocs, because I then want to bring that back to, we're early stage investors.
Yeah.
We're funding the next generation. We're funding 2 entrepreneurs in a garage.
Yeah.
And how in this vertical, how do you think? But maybe high level, give us how you're thinking about things, and then maybe we can come back into the ecosystem and some advice you may have for startups.
Yeah. So there are 2 or 3 things that are first principles for me, and for NetDocuments. And the first is that we have a responsibility as the platform of that is the source of truth. We are their governed platform. We're the organization that all of our customers have put and their clients have put all their trust in. Because of that, we need to be incredibly thoughtful around how we bring AI to a customer's content, and ensure that any governance that they've put in place remains. And that this is an area where I think that the industry has some challenges, because for the last 2 years, what has been happening is, you've got all these little startups that are taking content to the AI, but the moment that content goes to the AI, all of your governance is gone. And, like, this is something that we have to work closely together to sort through, because I know that NetDocuments is not going to be able to solve for all of the things, but we need to have a deeply integrated and strong ecosystem that allows these startups, if you will, to be able to come in and have access to a law firm's content in a ways that it's not taking the content out, it's enriching the content, and it's delivering the value that they're trying, that small vendor is trying to do within NetDocuments. Now, there are a bunch of capabilities that we believe should be core to the document management experience. Our view is that, document management and intelligence can no longer be separate. And the only thing that a customer should think about is their intelligent document management platform. And by that, I mean, we are going to infuse AI across the experience. Simple examples are, agent to agent experience between Copilot and the NetDocuments assistant, or infusing semantic indexing. We're building semantic search into our platform so that a firm's entire repository can be semantically indexed, and it improves their ability to find that content. Or being able to classify documents automatically based on a set a taxonomy that we can identify as a document comes into the platform. We can identify this is an agreement, this is a lease agreement, and because it's a lease agreement, there are these 12 things that we want to extract from it, so that an end user or the law firm or a client can now drive their business processes with the content that was extracted from that document. Just imagine us taking that lease agreement and feeding things like, signature date, term, date that they need to give notice if they want to terminate the agreement, the amount of the agreement, any price increase language that is in that agreement, et cetera, putting that all into a data table that will then trigger future workflows and help that legal team to do their best work without having to remember or put something on their calendar. I need to notify on this, because it will just automatically happen. And these are just some of the beginning stages of what we see as the things that will be built into the core document management platform and enhance the ability for our legal professionals to truly be their best.
So how do you think of an ecosystem of early stage companies, both like for NetDocs, and how do you guys work with early stage companies? And then how do you think of the general ecosystem? Because there's a lot of power in what you just described.
Yeah. So I think about it in 2 or 3 ways. So, first, we have a history of identifying ISVs, these smaller vendors.
Yep.
Who we want to have, deep partnerships with, and we bring them into our ISV program, and we do things like co-marketing with them, and we work alongside them to make sure that the integration with NetDocuments is done in a way to really enrich the end user's experience. Because in the world that we live in is that, I don't think it's possible for NetDocuments to build all the capabilities that a legal professional needs. And we need to have these great integrations with these other applications that enable them to do the work right inside their workflow. And this isn't a startup, but it's an example of a business that bought a lot of startups. Litera and NetDocuments are close partners, and they've got 20 applications that integrate with our platform. And by the way, integrated when they were small startups, and then eventually ended up inside Litera. Yeah. And that created an environment where our end users' experience was enriched, and so was the end users of that startup.
So predictor for Litera acquisition is becoming an ISV with NetDocs.
We certainly run in the same circles.
and then how do we know that the startup community, you've been extraordinarily supportive of it. You interact with these companies. Like, when you're talking to these early stage companies, what types of advice are you giving them these days?
Yeah, we're helping them see, like, look, you want to build your platform in ways that you can inherit the governance and the compliance standards of NetDocuments. Yep. It's paramount in this industry that the content be protected. And if an ISV or a small startup is aligning themselves with the standards that it's not that we've defined them. We've just been the leader in adhering to the most complex standards that are out there, and hitching the wagon to that same set of governance and compliance standards is going to be really important. And like oftentimes these startups don't have the influence on like a Microsoft to get that 0-day retention policy or something like that. So leveraging a relationship with NetDocuments can be helpful. And then the other is, build capabilities that are going to sit inside the workflow of a legal professional. And what I have observed, and I don't think this is just legal professionals, but if we give an end user a streaming experience, a TV streaming experience, where they've got 30 different applications and they're bouncing from Hulu to Netflix to Apple TV, trying to figure out where their content's at or where their favorite show's at, and it's very disjointed. What will ultimately happen is a lawyer just won't use it. They will not adopt. So we're advising these startups to build your application in a way that it can natively be presented inside NetDocuments, so that it feels like we have an AI infused experience, but we're not forcing them to bounce between application A, application B, and application C. It feels like this really, just seamless experience that allows somebody to be their best.
Right. So we're already over our time, but I want to, can I shift to a couple of personal, like leadership types of questions?
You bet.
I'll try to move quickly here. Give us a big challenge you faced, within NetDocs or as a CEO, and more leadership oriented than specific.
Yeah, this is an interesting question. I will say that the hardest leadership moment of my career, and I think that almost every CEO that has been a CEO for 5 years or longer would say this, was March of 2020. Now, by June of 2020, it actually wasn't that hard, because like business had returned, things were going well, and that sort of thing. But the way we had to communicate to employees, the level of like empathy that just was necessary to lead through that time was as hard as I ever remember. But also incredibly rewarding, because I look back and think that the entire world is uncertain, and we chose to just be like maximum level of transparent during that time. And the interesting thing is, I look across my leadership team, and all of us are more transparent and better communicating leaders today because of that experience. If we hadn't had it, we would not be as good as we are today. And that's one of the things I love about leadership, and frankly life. When you go through hard things and you come through them at the end, it wasn't just that it was hard in that moment and you got better in that moment. You like learned something, and you're going to be better forever.
You may have just hit the next. You may have just answered the next two questions I had for you. But one is just more like a piece of advice for an early stage entrepreneur, and not necessarily legal. Just any earlier stage CEO that you're sitting. Any words of wisdom somebody's told you that you think about, or you.
Yeah. One of the things that I would say is go faster than other people think you should. I think that one of the things that I remember this early in my career, and I was talking to my mom. Like I was like, to be clear, I was a workaholic. Like I didn't care about anything but work, and my mom says to me one day, she's like, "Why don't you just work like 80% as much as you do? You'll still work more than most people." And I said to her, I says, "Mom, if I work 80% as much as I do, I won't have a business at all." Like it's just like that. That's how it works when you're building a business, right?
Stage. Yeah.
You either go 120% or there's nothing there.
Yeah.
And I don't regret that. And I don't think that any startup early stage leader who's trying to build a business will look back and regret it either.
Yeah, and maybe that's a perfect place to end. You have to, right? Everything's stacked against you as an early stage company. If you're gonna go 60%, well, you might as well go join the big incumbent and
just go be an employee.
Yeah, you're trying to prove something.
Yeah,
and unfortunately, proving something is not necessarily the easiest of paths. Josh, can't thank you enough for spending a few minutes with us and sharing your story, sharing the NetDoc story, and really thank you for all you do for the community. And looking forward to seeing you soon.
Yeah, really enjoyed being part of it, Zach. And what you guys are doing at LegalTech Fund is just I think it's truly inspiring. So we're
going to put
happy to be part of it.
That quote's going to be right on our website. Thanks, Josh. See you soon.
We'll see you.